So yesterday I created a video to talk about how the Rings of Power, in my opinion, the Rings of Power is a bad idea. Even the name of it is a bad idea. So I've decided to show you how much it does not respect the timeline at all and how incoherent it is. So for example, Galadriel, we don't know exactly what she does all the time, but she does have a lot to do. And the first thing is look at this here. She had no role in the major war of the First Age, believing that defeating Morgoth was beyond the power of the Eldar. So essentially, her arc in this does not make any sense. Then what does she do during the Second Age? She essentially establishes a realm with her husband that with which she already has a child. She moves again, and she creates another realm. Essentially, her role is to what she does is she counsels other elves because she's not a warrior. She's what we called a wise person, where her help is to give good advice. She doesn't actually use a sword. Actually, another thing is most elves don't use swords that look like the sword they have in the show. They don't use two-handed claymores with a single hand. Their weapons are not big and stupid. Actually, nobody, well, maybe orcs use such weapons because they're compensating for their lack of brains. We can look at the timeline. This is the timeline of First Age. You can see that the only thing that she really does that's important enough to be on the timeline is the fact that she remains in Middle Earth. She's one of the last Noldor elves to be in Middle Earth. But in the Second Age, you can see, for example, in the Second Age, an event that we kind of see is Sauron arises again in Middle Earth. It's in the year 500. Continue. You have the events where you see the Noldor under Celebrimbor instructed by Sauron begins the forging of the Rings of Power. It happens 1,000 years after the reveal of Sauron in Middle Earth. But the thing is, Sauron doesn't appear in his fighting stance. He's discreet. He appears as an elf in the guise of a beautiful elf, and he tells everybody he's a Maiar. So he's very deceitful about all of this. Sauron deceives. Sauron, one of his names is the Deceiver. For example, Gil-galad and Galadriel kind of saw through Sauron's evil, kind of like Feanor in the First Age. When Morgoth tries to inspire hatred in the heart of Feanor, Feanor looks into his eyes and he sees evil essentially, and that's why he kicks him out and doesn't give him any of his crafts. And this is what causes the conflict around the Silmarillion. So look, there are plenty of events nearly 100 years after they perceive his treachery. Elrond becomes a lieutenant. Well, Elrond was born in the First Age, at the end of the First Age. Elrond and Elros are born. They're born in the last I don't know if these are years, solar years, or years of the trees, but he's born 50 years before the end of the First Age, about so Elrond is like a young elf. He's not like Galadriel, who was born under light of the trees. He was born in Middle Earth. Rivendell already exists. Rivendell, Elrond establishes Rivendell before. Wait. The funny thing is, these events they seem logical here, but in the show, they're not done at all in any logical way. Because if you want, one of the main characters of the show is Isildur, and Isildur is born. He's born here. He's born 1,000 years after, thousands of years after, all the drama between Sauron and Celebrimbor. Celebrimbor has been dead for 1,000 years because Celebrimbor he comes with Sauron when he realizes Sauron is deceitful, and Sauron kills him and destroys his whole realm pretty quickly. Between the beginning of the Second Age and the end of the Second Age, I think there's 13 or 16 kings of Numenor, something like that. I think Gimek Kad is 13th king of Numenor, something like that. So like in the show, you see like Alfaradon, Isildur, and you see Celebrimbor. But the thing is, these people don't live at the same time period. It's kind of like if John Rambo was sent in '66 to fight William the Conqueror, like kind of like talking about the USA before the revolution. It's completely. And the funny thing is, we all know that the stranger, the wanderer, the random guy that fell from the sky, he's Gandalf. And the thing about wizards is we know exactly when they arrive. They arrive at the thousandth year of the Third Age. So we see events. It's kind of like seeing cavemen like Homo erectus fighting with machine guns against cyborgs from the future. Like the forging of the rings of power happens thousands of years before the birth of Isildur, and the birth of Isildur happens maybe 1,500 years before the arrival of the wizards. And the wizards, they probably arrive by ship. They don't arrive in flaming balls of fire. Only Morgoth arrived in the flaming ball of fire. That's because he intended to destroy as much of Arda as he could to ruin the other Valar's plans. Also, the hobbits, the hobbits to Isengard, to Isengard. But like the hobbits, they live in the Vale of the Anduin, which is not in the south of Middle Earth. And if in the show, I think that the hobbits are in the south of Middle Earth. The Vale of the Anduin is actually in the north of Middle Earth. It's next to it's next to Khazad-dûm on the eastern side of the mountain. So like their location makes no sense, and it, it just makes no sense. So I think this is enough for today. So thank you a lot and goodbye.